This is 5 Star Life Radio on News Talk 95.3 Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.
Welcome back to 5 Star Life Radio, brought to you by Global Link Distribution, a supplier to the RV, manufactured housing, cargo trailer, and cabinet shop industries, as well as Dometic, the ultimate outdoor equipment engineered for living. You can check them out at Dometic.com. Both Dometic and Global Link Distribution are proud sponsors of 5 Star Life Radio, and I'm joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth. Glad to be back in studio with you. So, Seth, we were just talking about like taking back, restoring confidence for kids and for adults too. And we're discovering and walking through like some adversity, and you were giving us some tips. What do you have for us next?
So, I think the next thing, once you've ripped off and identified, and it takes courage. I mean, it really does. It's one of our 5 Star Life values, which we define as taking ownership of your past choices or past experiences, your current reality, your future dreams. So taking ownership. And I'm sorry, that's responsibility. I just gave the wrong definition. That's hilarious. Courage. Having the strength to do what's right rather than what's popular or comfortable. It takes courage to face some of the stuff that went down in your past. And you can't just cover up. You got to have the courage to look at it, identify those negative labels that have been stuck on you. And it's amazing as adults how many negative labels we've allowed to be stuck. And they're so familiar that we forgot they're even there.
Do you think it's because people kept putting those labels back on us and we just accepted them? Or like, why do we carry it?
I think people slap them on us. We identify with them. We feel like it's true. And so it's a combination of what people stick on us and what we allow to stick to us. And now we stick them on ourselves. But even if you've done the work of like trying to rip those things off, and you have the courage to face those things, rip them off, then label yourself with truth, with something that's positive. The reality is that in time, there's often these moments or these triggers will randomly hit you where it can be a song, it can be bumping into somebody who did you wrong, it can be a place, it can be a smell, it can be all kinds of things that trigger that memory, and all of a sudden those thoughts, those emotions that you used to experience come back to you. And again, that is the killer of confidence when these things come back. And you're like, I thought I dealt with this. Why is this happening? And there's something that you can actually do to handle those things. You don't have to live, and sometimes people feel like, man, what's wrong with me? It's pretty normal. Mm-hmm. For these things to trigger you and come back in your face, to come back to haunt you. And it reminds me of a story of a farmer who had a mule. And this mule was really what it used to work the land. And he put the mule away for the night, tied it up, and somehow the mule got loose, wandered off, fell into a deep pit where it was stuck overnight. Farmer got up, couldn't find his mule, went looking for it, found it trapped in this pit. And this is a long time ago, before they had like hoist technology to hoist it out of the pit without breaking a leg. And so if a mule breaks its leg, it's going to die. So he didn't have, the heart to let it just die there in that pit by wild animals. That'd be horrible. So he decided that the best thing he could do would be to bury it alive. And so this mule is laying in this pit, and all of a sudden a shovel full of dirt hits it in the face. Another one hits its back. It's being buried alive. And this is exactly what adversity tries to do to us. This is exactly what traumatic things that have happened in the past seek to do to us. It seeks to limit us, push us down, and all of these negative things come back to us. And the negative dirt is the feelings, the emotions that just slaps us. And ultimately, what the mule did next was powerful. It made a decision that was going to stand up. It stood up and started to shake. It shook all the dirt off its back, off its face, and then trampled on the dirt. And shovel after shovel hit its back with each shovelful of dirt, it would shake it off and trample the dirt. This went on for hours until at sunset, just before sunset, the farmer threw a couple more shovelfuls on that thing's back, shook it off, trampled on it, and then stepped up and out of that pit. See, what the mule did is it used what was meant to bury it. It used all the negativity to shake it off, and it became the stepping stone for it to rise up out of the pit. And it's exactly what every single person who's ever succeeded that's been through adversity will tell you to do. Like, no, I used my adversity. Manquez. He used the incarcerated father, the addicted mother, as his fuel to rise higher. This is what I'm not going to do. I'm going to learn from this and rise higher. And what you see people who stay in victimhood and stay in the pit, what they do is they let it bury them because I was abused, because my dad was never there for me, because my boss didn't like me, because that's why I am the way I am. And ultimately, if you were to ask Manquez and his brother, he had a younger brother, if you were to ask both of them the same question, like, how did you end up the way you are? Manquez, very successful. His brother, stuck in addiction. Unfortunately, probably going to die young because of the lifestyle he's in poverty and addiction. Ask them the same question. How did you end up where you are? Both of them will give you the same exact answer. Look at what I came from. Look at what I went through. How could I have ended up any different?
Wow.
And it's so much perspective and so much what you do with that adversity. And what I want to challenge, people listening to do, and I encourage students to do, is to take responsibility. That is taking ownership of your life. It's time to stand up. You don't have to be a victim. You don't have to let all of those negative things that have been heaped on you, that have been done to you, keep you down. But even if you've ripped the labels off, even if you've done the work, sometimes those feelings, those emotions are triggered when you walk into a certain place, when you are around certain people, or there's a certain thing that happens that triggers that memory. You've got to go back to shaking that stuff off. Just shake it off. And what we do is we feel like, okay, what's wrong with me? I'm a bad person. I have to just let this stuff stick on me. Like, what's wrong with me that I'm having these thoughts? Nothing's wrong with you. It's just called life. And that adversity is trying to sneak back up and take you captive and put you in that pit. And while it's easy to isolate and stay in the pit and feel sorry for ourselves, what we challenge kids to do is to stand up, shake it off, and then trample the dirt. And the dirt is twofold. One of the things you can do to trample on the dirt is pursuing relationships. Adversity, trauma often comes to us through negative relationships. It's that parent, it's that friend, it's somebody who did something to harm us, right? Trauma comes through relationships most of the time. But our healing and restoring our confidence also comes through people. And so although we want to isolate and we want to be alone, it's the worst thing in the world possible. You've got to force yourself to stand up and go be around people. It's that friend, that family member, that coach, that teacher. It's that trusted person that you've got to force yourself to go be around. Well, Coach Seth, I don't want to go commiserate and just complain and talk about all my, touchy-feely things. That's not me. You don't have to do that. It's just therapeutic being around people, being in relationships. It's healing just doing life with other people, having fun. All those things are good. The second thing that is really powerful, and it's part of the trampling the dirt, is exercise. So literally, depression, anxiety, some of these triggers, some of these feelings we have from some of the stuff we've been through, exercise is a powerful tool. Trauma, adversity, it actually, something happens physiological. It actually brings this instability. It disrupts our state of balance and freezes us in a state of fear. exercise actually it releases this adrenaline. It helps absorb the adrenaline so that fight or flight thing goes away. The emotions, the feelings go away. And then it also releases endorphins that are little neurotransmitters in your brain that are released. They're responsible for feelings of happiness and joy. And so those endorphins, when you exercise, are released, and all of a sudden you start to feel better. Research says that exercise actually brings healing to your nerves, your nervous system. It's a powerful thing. So the next time you're haunted by negative emotions or feelings from something that happened to you, instead of feeling guilty or ashamed like there's something wrong with you, just recognize it's normal. It can reoccur. But take ownership. Shake it off. You have to let it sit on you. You have to go back into the pit. Don't isolate. Choose to surround yourself with people. Get around people. That's therapeutic. Exercise, work out, and that will be trampling and stepping out of the pit. You do not have to stay stuck in a pit. You don't have to live with all that stuff. It's not true. Don't believe it if somebody tells you that. You can live a 5-star life and restore your confidence. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back and wrap the show up.
This is 5-Star Life Radio on News Talk 95.3 Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.